Hey folks, Matt Sharp here with another Pacific Angler Friday Fishing Report. We are filming for the middle of June. I can't believe it is almost summer, but I thought I'd bring you a report. Why? Because it's Father's Day. I plan to sit back and drink a few beverages and maybe watch my wife mow the lawn. She's awesome. It's sort of one of our traditions. I plan to go to the Lions game opener as well, which should be good, but I also plan to take my daughter out fishing. Why? Because it's family fishing week as well. Now, I have licenses, my daughter does as well, but if you don't, if you've been maybe on the fence and you want to get your kids into it, or you have friends that you want to take, maybe they're thinking about fishing but not really into it, they do have to get a license, but they can fish for free and maybe get out to one of the local ponds where the fishing's still okay to decent, and they usually stock a bunch of the local ponds right now just so the kids have a chance at a fish. We're going to leave links in the description as well as links in the written report for all the nitty-gritty details, but make it happen. It's a good weekend for it, and it looks like a good weekend for fishing. Maybe not a great weekend for hanging out on the patio, but we're going to go over the weather as well in detail to see what is entail if you're going to take a family out on the family weekend, or you're going saltwater fishing, or heck, interior lake fishing as well is still going quite well if you plan to go that direction. We are going to talk about saltwater in a fair amount of detail this week because we're starting to hear good reports from coho. They're not great yet. It's still really early, but guys and girls are picking up coho more consistently. We've heard decent reports off the hump, off the south end of Bowen, and we're going to talk through that. We're going to look at the tides. We're looking at some techniques that we might want to do to specifically target the coho. The Chinook fishing is also excellent. I'll tune in a little bit because CBC had a fun piece where they said the lack of Chinook is a big problem and we need to do more, and we've never had this many Chinook in our local waters, at least in my lifetime, and debatably in anyone else's lifetime who is alive right now. I digress. I won't rant on this one. However, just note that there are a lot of Chinook out there, and you're going to have to be careful when you're out targeting coho to minimize your impact on those stocks of not concern. Anyway, we're also going to talk a lot about river fishing this week. Why? Well, the middle of June is when I like to look at water levels. I like to look at snowpacks. I like to see what the summer is going to bring. And this is our big episode where I'm going to take you guys and girls along for the ride. We're going to look at all the data that I can find. And then I'm going to try to make my crystal ball predictions of what we're going to see in water levels when it comes to Skagit, Thompson, Chilliwack, North Shore rivers, even later on into the summer, based off where the freshet is going right now. And the Coles notes is it's actually not as bad news as we thought. We were really scared that we're going to have a crazy low water year. We're going to have a low water year. However, the cool spring allowed us to catch up just a little bit. We'll take a look at it in this week's report. So as always, you want to see more fishing reports like this, consider hitting the like button, hit the subscribe button. Let's get into it. All right, everybody, cheers to Friday. Thanks for tuning in with me. We've got a big one this week because we've got the family weekend. I highly recommend getting out. Check gofishbc.com for latest stocking reports to see where they're stocking the fish for the weekend. If they haven't stocked it, there's still decent fishing because the water hasn't gotten too warm with this mild spring. I'm going to put the rig diagram up here. If you've got friends and family, I know most of you know all of this stuff like the back of your hand if you're tuned into the channel, but if you've got friends and family or who are new and want to get into it, send them our way. We're going to get them all rigged out so you don't have to do all the work for them, and then take them out fishing. Again, links in the description for the details on how to get the licensing for there, but it is free. So what do we got? We're going to start off with where are we here? I want to pull up a bunch of notes because we've got a bunch of spreadsheets to look at. My favorite thing, well, at least spreadsheets that have to do with fishing, not spreadsheets that have to do with business. Key fishery data, here we go. So water levels. And so let's take just a look at the Fraser. And this is where we're going to start off because we were quite concerned that we would be sitting in maybe record lows. Now we're really low right now. If you can see here, I'll throw it up here. We had a spike in water, or sorry, a spike up in here where things got almost to the high of the minimum P5, which in a scientific term is very low. I'm not going to get into the details of what P90, P5 all is. However, we saw a bump where less snow got melted off in this spring than was expected. And so because of that, water levels aren't bottoming out the chart. Now, they are very low for the time of year, which is relatively high. When we look out at the North Shore snowpack, and this is one that I want you to take a peek at, is you can see how last year was really low, the 2002, 2003 numbers. It actually was high in the middle and then it got really hot and dropped down. However, we sort of caught up there. Now we're way below the historical 25 to 70 year average when it comes to snowpack. So that is concerning. However, better than we thought it would be. Now let's take a look at some rivers that are more important to us, stuff that might apply. And this is our Skagit graph. And you can see how it's tracking very similar to previous years. Now, I'm concerned about how much snow is up there that can still possibly come down, but we're not looking at the craziest low numbers that we were expecting if you talked to me about a month ago. And so let's pull up here, and this is 2024. And so you can see we're coming in almost at where it was last year. And then if we throw it up even farther back, let's go, here's 2019, 2020, and we're between the two. 2019 was actually lower at this time of year, at least on the graphs. Now, I'm going to have a big warning here for everybody. I am not a hydrologist. I have friends who are, and they giggle at me when I try to make predictions. Please, guys, you know who you are. If I'm getting this off, leave comments below and be like, Matt's a little off on this one. This is where to look and this is why to look. But at least from my take, the early season is going to have water. That actually might mean that things aren't low right off the hop when it comes to some of the rivers you might be considering. And I know for rivers like the Thompson right now, they are high and we are still waiting for them to come down. So long story short, I'm going to have a lot more details in the written version of the report. I'll share these graphs and what I've got, what I'm looking at. But if you are planning a trip in July, August, if you're planning a trip up Birkenhead, Skagit, Thompson, any of the rivers, heck, the Chilliwack, we expect it to be a low water year, but at least right now, not a bonkers low water year. So we'll see how it progresses. It really obviously depends on what Mother Nature is going to do to us. So let's take a look at that over the next short little while. And looks like we're going to have, unfortunately, for the weekend, maybe a little bit more rainy, sort of drizzly weather. But as we know as anglers, that's not a bad thing. And so let's go here. So for the 14-day from Vancouver filming, we're on the 12th tonight. We're going to see a bump in temperature probably like back end of next week. And so that's into the 20s, but not crazy high. And nighttime temps are going to be sort of 13, 14. That's beautiful weather, at least temperature wise, but it's not crazy hot. So that's a good thing. And we hope that will carry through and protect our rivers from a low water scenario that could be on the cards with such a low snowpack. All right, let's talk fishing. So you saltwater guys and girls, we've neglected you a little bit because obviously there's been Chinook around, but we haven't been really allowed to target them. Now, a lot of folks are calling the shop saying, hey, is it worth going out for coho? This comes with a big warning. It's not gangbuster for coho. There are a lot of Chinook. Running into Chinook is going to happen out there, but we're finally starting to hear local reports off South Bowen. For example, one of our fellow guides had a 6-fish hatchery day out there, as well as some Chinook, and that's pretty fun times. It's not a guarantee that you're going to catch a hatchery coho right now, but it's well worth getting out. And the reports I have from other friends a little bit farther up sort of Seashelt, Buccaneer Bay, that sort of direction, the reports are pretty special. There are a metric ton of fish, both Chinook and coho, coming. Thanks for Colin for sending this in. Keep sending the bite photos. All the boys were drooling over these shots at the store. And he said about half of these bites were hatchery coho, or at least coho in the mix with possible hatcheries. So those fish are coming. we expect it soon, and it's well worth getting out right now. When we look at the tides, we're actually at some pretty mellow tides on Friday, so not big pushes, so that's nice to get out for. The big tides are going to come sort of into the 21st, 23rd to 26th range. That's the big cycle. That's going to push you around a bit and something to keep an eye on, but this weekend looks like some good mellow tides. Well worth getting out there, and you can expect to hook fish and probably hook coho. Now, we're going to be doing a couple pieces coming up on bucktailing. It's not quite time yet, but the boys have been out trying. Ben was out playing around with it, and we're going to have some pieces on how to do that, because if the numbers from up north are going to translate to down here, and it should, like I said, happen in the next 5 to 15 days, we see those waves start hitting us. Could be something special, and bucktailing is a darn cool way to target coho. Again, generally, if you're targeting coho, Jay did a good, quick little report on what he likes to use for coho, talking about speeds, but the Cole's notes, we're going to go faster, we're going to go shallower, and we're going to use much flashier presentations. And so if you want to see that video, I'm going to link that up here. It's short, it's easy, give you some gear recommendations, and then we're going to be having some more stuff coming out soon, and if it's out, I'll link it up here as well, or link it at the back end of the report. Okay, that's on the saltwater front. Now, I did tease that I'd rant a little bit about CBC having an article, I believe it was last week, on how our fearless government is doing more to help the whales by restricting fishermen. I'm not going to go into detail on it, but basically nothing's changed. They just sort of reiterated what has been done over the last 2 years, as if it was new news or better news, or the government really making a push to save the whales. What they miss from that report is that there is more Chinook in the local waters than any of our lifetimes, debatably combined, and debatably going back farther than science. And so, unfortunately, I think we're ruling out the fact that the problem with our southern resident killer whales has anything to do with food access. It's probably something more complicated than that. Unfortunately, to get an opening where fishermen can target those fish takes a lot of political moving, and anything in politics is going to happen slowly. We do have some studies in the works that we've seen, and they've got to crunch data. We're hopeful that that data will come out next year, and then it's going to be up to the politicians to talk about it. So we'll see. But for those asking, are we going to see a Chinook opening earlier than last year? It is very doubtful, even though there are more Chinook than last year, and last year was a record year. So there's that point. Okay, what else have I got for you? If you guys or girls are interested in doing some fly fishing on those local trout streams, I've actually got a course coming up next week on the 19th. It's in-house at the store. Just call it in and we can get you signed up. But I'm going to go over all my techniques for tackling the local rivers, so that would be Skagit, Birkenhead, Thompson, and a million in between, with fly rods, and the techniques that you guys and girls need to be successful out there July, August into September. So check that out. I'll put the phone number up here. Just call the shop, tell the boys you want to get signed up, and away to the races we go, and we can hang out on next Wednesday and drink some beer and talk about fishing. As always, you want to see more fishing reports like this, considering the like button, hit the subscribe button. I'll put Jay's coho video up here, and I'll catch you in the next one.